Mike Jamay along with Tony DeMichael and our pregame guest, a man who I know from many years ago, the head basketball coach at Peekskill High School, Mr. John Moro. John, it's a pleasure to finally have you on our program.
Glad to see you again, Mike. Under these circumstances, better than when you were playing for Osley.
Well, that was back in the 60s, and basketball has sure changed in 18, 19 years, John. Or has it? Wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot over the years. I mean, you know, you can't make a comparison, Mike, with years ago and the game today. The facilities are better, the gyms are better, the coaching's better, the equipment's better, and so to equate a player today with one 20 years ago, it's impossible.
You made a statement. You said everything's better. Are you a better coach than you were in the mid-1960s, John?
Oh, I'm much more mature. I get less technicals than than I used to. No, I really feel I've learned a lot each year, and I feel I'm a better coach because I'm more experienced, and I know a lot of the mistakes that I've made in the past and try to correct them.
I know Tony DeMichael has admired your coaching career through the years.
That's true, Mike. John, I have to ask you, as far as this game is concerned, Mike and I mentioned in the early part of our pregame show that both teams pretty much know where they're going to be in the opening rounds of the playoffs. Their seeds are locked up. This is not a league game, and perhaps they may not be pumped up for the game as much, but this is your last, although your first tournament game will most likely be here, this is your last regular season game here for Peekskill. What special feelings does that give for you, even though, as far as leagues and postseason factors, they don't really exist here?
Well, Tony, I'll tell you, I hate to think of it as being my last regular season. You brought it up. I try to
now
put
you have
it
a guy thinking about it.
I try to put it out of my mind, but I'll tell you one thing. The excitement of this game is as great as ever. An Osling-Peekskill rivalry in the old days was great. The gym was packed like you see tonight. It's a packed gym, and they're still coming in. The Osling games, the Osling-Peekskill games of Mike's day and 15 years ago were terrific. It has slackened in the last 10 years because, well, we have different leagues, and Osling has lost a little bit basketball-wise, but they certainly have come back. Jay Pauling has done a wonderful job. I see that winning attitude developing on this Osling team this year, and they did. I congratulated Mike about 15 minutes ago. Let's just learn that they won their league yesterday when Fox Lane beat Horace Greeley.
Right.
And I was very happy for Jay because he has suffered, and he's worked hard, and he's had the benefits and joys of a great team. And we have a great team, and I expect a real terrific game tonight.
Well, John, finally, let me ask you about that first game. Osling beat you at Osling by a couple of points. What did Peekskill do wrong in that game, if anything? Or did you have a good ball game the first time out against good old OHS?
The first thing we did wrong, Mike, was we scored 3 points less than Osling. They had 81, we had 78. But you know, that was a terrific game. They had us by 10 points in the second quarter, and we went ahead by 10 points in the third quarter. It was back and forth, but it wasn't a 2-point lead back and forth. There was large leads back and forth. They came on strong in the last quarter. Unfortunately for us, Todd fouled out with about 2.5 minutes to go, but we were ahead by 5, and as you know in basketball, 2.5 minutes is an eternity sometimes, and anything can happen. I remember Osling over Horace Greeley. I left the game less than a minute to go, and Osling was 8 behind. They won the game. So we're two pretty equal type teams. We the same philosophies. We're runners, we're pressers, and you're going to see that kind of an aggressive game, I think, tonight.
You mentioned Todd Scott. You've coached for many years, enjoyed a very successful career, John. All the years of your coaching, how would you rank Todd Scott as far as the finest ball players that you've coached up in there? I remember I played against Bill Brickhouse back in the mid-1960s. How would you rate Todd in there of all the players you had? I know your son played, was outstanding.
I've had many, Mike, as you know, terrific ball players at Peekskill. Again, to be consistent with what I said before, it is very hard and very difficult to equate a player of 20 years ago with a player of today. Certainly, with all the terrific players like Carter, Robinson, my son, Pat Thornell, Ed Lane, I could go on and on. I know I'm leaving a lot out. Bill Brickhouse was by far the best all-around player I've ever had. He could play any place. He was a guard, ball handler. He was very unselfish. If we played an easy team, he'd score 11. If we played a team like Osling, he would get 28, 29. So, now, on the other hand, Todd is the 1983 version.
Right.
He is an All-American. He is well, I wouldn't say by far. I've had great shooters, but he is a terrific shooter at 6'5". He's broken every scoring record and shooting at about a 55 to 60% rate.
Incredible.
You will see that it isn't the layups he gets. He plays, well, he'll get inside baskets, but most of his baskets are jump shots from 15 to 18 feet out. So he's been at a fabulous career. And Mike, I want to say to the people that asked why Evansville, we had choices. College coaches came to me with scholarships in hand from Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, St. John's,
And I'll
Georgia
ask you,
Tech.
why Evansville if he had all those offers,
I'll tell
John?
you
Although
why.
Evansville's certainly no slouch.
No. Number one, Evansville ranked in the top 20 last year, so they're a strong Division I club. Number two, it is an academic institution besides being a terrific basketball school. And Todd is academically talented. Todd knows, God willing, his chances of pro ball are very slim unless he grows a few more inches. So he wants to go to a college where he can enjoy 4 years of college ball, contribute to the program, get an education, and when he gets out of school, he's 24 years old. What's he going to do with his life? It's almost guaranteed a profession out of Evansville. Another point in Evansville favored, Mike, is, you know, that's the school that had the tragedy about 5 years ago, the plane
remember
crash,
that.
where they lost everyone. The town is behind that school something fierce.
I can imagine.
First name basis with the players, aren't they, John?
Oh,
From what I
definitely.
understand, it was such a tragic loss because they knew the players so well. It wasn't, that guy wears number 42 or something like that. It's a first name basis. They were a very close-knit community that was close to their ball players. Purple Aces, I think they're called.
So you're pretty happy, John, that Todd's going to Evansville.
Definitely, definitely. If it wasn't Evansville, Davidson would have been the second choice.
As far as what Todd has accomplished this year, he broke of course, the all-time scoring record by Hastings' Pat Burke earlier this month. What was as far as the pressure that had to exist, John, leading up to it? How did he deal with it game by game? And now that he's broken it and is still competing with Bruce Lefkowitz of Edgemont, who broke it the same night as Todd and is competing for him, how does he deal with it game in and game out, or does he just forget about it and play anyway?
I honestly can say that Todd is the finest player under pressure I've ever had. He's a very mature, articulate kid. And he's taken all this pressure and all this idolizing and things right in stride. He's a very humble kid. He loves pressure games. The game where he had to break the record, I mean, he had to make 24. That's not an easy accomplishment, but we had to be prepared in case he made it, you know? But 24, that's quite a bit to make. Heck, he had 20 at the half. You know, and now the record was 1,787, and that's been for 14 years. Todd's got 1,910 now with this game to go and the sectionals. So he takes it in stride. Honest, when I say this, the record doesn't bother him one bit. If Lefkowitz breaks it down there, Todd would be just as happy. You know why? He's a great kid. He knows he's satisfied with his performance. I am. He wants to get better, and that's all that he wants to do, whatever it takes to help the team win.
Well, John, I'm sure he's learned a lot from the good old coach. I know you want to get down there. 7 minutes to game time. Our pregame guest has been Mr. John Moro, the head basketball coach of Peekskill High School. John, pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Right.
And we'll be back with more basketball action in just a minute. You're watching McLean Area High School basketball right here on McLean Cable, Channel 26. We'll be right back.